Would you believe that one of Korea's most beloved entertainers once slept in a tiny cockroach-ridden room, ate potatoes for dinner, and was rejected at more than 20 auditions, only to conquer both the music charts and the drama awards that the teenager agencies dismissed as too plain would grow into a record-breaking singer-songwriter and a Best Actress winner? This is the story of Lee Ji-eun, IU, and how she journeyed from the nation's little sister to the K-drama queen. Welcome to Know Your Idol, Episode 4. Lee Ji-eun was born on May 16, 1993, in Seoul. Her childhood didn't look anything like a fairy tale. When a relative defaulted on a loan her mother had co-signed, the family collapsed under debt. IU and her younger brother moved in with their grandmother in a one-room apartment where the winters felt longer, the ceiling felt lower, and dinner was whatever they could stretch. A bowl of rice, a few potatoes, instant noodles split between kids. Yet in the middle of those tight days, something bright pushed her forward. Music. So she tried to reach that stage. Middle school afternoons turned into audition days. She wrote her name on forms, waited under fluorescent lights, and sang for expressionless panels who said next more often than thank you. 20 rejections became 20 plus. One fake agency even took what little money the family could spare and disappeared. It would have been reasonable to quit. Instead, IU doubled down. She taught herself guitar in that small room, trained her ear by recording and replaying her voice, and kept telling herself one yes was all it would take. The yes arrived in 2007. Lowen Entertainment saw what others missed and accepted her as a trainee. 10 months later, just 10, a 15-year-old IU walked onto a music show stage with her debut, Lost Child. The voice was there, clear, emotional, unmistakable, but the moment wasn't. In a market obsessed with synchronized spectacle, a shy soloist did not fit the trend. There were no trophies, no viral clips, just the quiet sting of finishing last and walking home in silence. Still, IU did not fold. She studied, adjusted, and kept performing. Then, The Thaw. In mid-2010, a duet called Nagging with 2AM's Sulong slipped onto the charts and kept rising until it hit number 1. Listeners heard warmth they had not noticed before. That small room voice was suddenly in taxis, cafes, and corner stores, but the song that changed a life came that winter. Good Day. 3 syllables that detonated across Korea. The arrangement sparkled like cold sunlight. The lyrics felt like first love, and the finale, those famous stacked high notes, turned living rooms into vocal competitions. Comedians parodied it. Classmates tried it at lunch. Music programs built entire segments around who could reach that run. Good Day held number 1 for 5 straight weeks, and more importantly, gave the nation an answer to the question, who is IU? She was the bright, impossible star they had been waiting for. Success did not stop at a single peak. In 2011, You and I swept every major chart again, and the album Last Fantasy turned into a bestseller. She was no longer just a studio voice, she was a presence. Acoustic stages with a guitar made big arenas feel like cafes. Drama OSTs climbed back onto the charts months after release because people could not forget them. Variety shows revealed a wit as quick as her voice was clear. By 19, IU had become an institution. The friendly face in commercials, the voice you heard at graduation studios, the person parents approved of and teens adored. Her fandom, UAENA, grew into a nationwide community. But approval was not the destination. It was the starting point. Even while the Little Sister label trended, IU wanted authorship. In 2011, she wrote Hold My Hand for a drama OST, her first officially released self-composed song. From there, she began steering her sound, lowering a key to serve the story instead of the trend, pulling jazz phrasing into pop structures, letting ballads lean into R&B warmth, and carrying folk textures into stadium-size arrangements. The picture sharpened. This was not a singer being carried by songs. This was a singer shaping them. The turning point was 2017's Palette. 25 is a strange age, old enough to look back, young enough to doubt, and IU wrote from inside that tension. The title track read like a diary and a declaration at once: what fits now, what does not, and the grace to accept both. A verse from G-Dragon did not overshadow her, it framed her next chapter. Across the album, she braided confession into craft, and critics who had once called her cute began using words like author, architect, and artist. Fans heard something more intimate, a voice maturing alongside them. 4 years later, Lilac became her graceful farewell to the 20s. The record sounded like spring after a long winter, city pop shimmer, retro funk grooves, and melodies you could loop on an empty midnight drive. But it was not nostalgia for its own sake. It was a thesis about growth. You could hear a decade of craft in the arrangements and a decade of life in the writing. Critics praised the balance of polish and heart, and fans recognized their own stories in the lyrics. Around this time, global lists began including IU among the world's most influential singers. And still, music is only half the story. In 2011, she stepped into acting with Dream High, a sweet early role that gave her room to learn the camera's grammar. 2 years later, she carried You're the Best, Lee Sun-shin, figuring out how to keep a character breathing across months of filming. Then came a gamble in 2016, Moonlover's Scarlet Heart Ryo, a time-slip historical drama that asked her to play a modern woman dropped into the brutal politics of the Goryeo court. The ratings were mixed, but the role asked for grit, vulnerability, and presence. Validation arrived in 2018 with My Mister. As lead Jian, IU almost never raised her voice, but she filled the frame. She played exhaustion without spectacle and stubborn survival without sentimentality. The drama swept awards, but the bigger win was perception. Idol-turned-actress fell away, replaced by a simpler word, actress. A year later, Hotel del Luna revealed the other half of her range as Jangman Wol, the stylish, sharp-tongued owner of a hotel for ghosts. IU became a fashion and pop culture phenomenon. The show dominated Pan-Asian ratings and gave IU a second title, Kdrama Queen. Films followed. In 2022, Broker walked her onto the red carpet at Cannes and introduced her to viewers who had never watched a K-drama. The next year, she lightened the palette with the sports comedy Dream, reminding audiences she could play levity without losing sincerity. And in 2025, she took on one of the most ambitious projects of her career. Netflix's When Life Gives You Tangerines, playing two women in two eras, a fierce Jeju Islander in the 1950s and, decades later, that woman's daughter navigating a changing world. The dual role earned her Best Actress at the Blue Dragon Series Awards, confirming she had become one of Korea's most versatile performers. Through it all, IU kept building a live legacy. In 2022, she became the first Korean female soloist to headline Seoul's Olympic Stadium, filling 70,000 seats on consecutive nights for the Golden Hour concert. It was more than a show. It felt like a chapter-closing ceremony, a catalog-spanning run where a singer could command a runway the length of a football field and still make the highest row feel like the front. The message was simple and rare. A soloist could do what only the biggest groups had done, and then there is the part that never lands on a music chart. Her generosity. IU's donations have become a quiet constant. To children's hospitals, to scholarships for low-income students, to relief funds after disasters, to elders' heating bills in winter. Often she gives under alternate names or ties the gifts to Wayna anniversaries, so the spotlight lands on the cause, not the donor. Colleagues tell stories about small kindnesses, handwritten notes tucked into staff lunchboxes the way she learns names, the humility that makes superstardom feel like service rather than entitlement. What then ties all these chapters together? Perseverance, yes, talent, obviously, but also authorship. From the tiny room to the stadium, from Lost Child to Lilac, from walk-on parts to award-winning leads, IU has kept choosing who she is before anyone else can choose for her. She turned a label, Nation's Little Sister, into a launch pad rather than a box. She learned how to say goodbye to versions of herself without apologizing, and invited her audience to grow alongside her. Today, IU stands where very few have managed to stand, at the intersection of pop superstardom and serious artistry, of television dominance and film credibility, of trend and timelessness. She is a best-selling soloist, a respected songwriter, a bankable lead, and a cultural touchstone. And she is still in motion, still writing, still acting, still surprising people who thought they already knew her. So, what is your favorite chapter of IU's story? The high-note fairy tale of Good Day, the candid self-portrait of Palette, the haunted glamour of Hotel del Luna, or the quiet storm of My Mister? Tell us in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe, because if IU's journey teaches anything, it is that the most beautiful careers are not meteors. They are constellations built star by star, year by year, until the whole sky looks different.